Okay. So I don't know where it stopped, but so yeah, so the officer to my left stops moving, and then the officer that is has his knee on me, he stops moving. I am not moving. And we are just sitting there quietly. Very, very, very silent for like 5 minutes. A long, long time. Then the one behind me picks me up, and what I see is that there are all these officers, like 3 or 4 officer vehicles, all standing outside watching us. They're like 20 feet away. They've been watching us for 5 minutes, seeing I'm not moving. No one's moving. Um, there's also a fire truck. Now, none of them made the woo 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 sound. None of them did that. They arrived silently because he called them for backup. They were all out of their vehicle and watching. So the officer behind me picked me up, and the officer behind me picked me up, and I started saying, "My name is Specialist Annor Doeman. I'm in the United States Army Reserve. I'm an Iraq veteran. I'm a full-time student. I'm on the dean's list. I'm on the honor roll. Um, and and I remember now, and I haven't remembered lately, but I started saying, this is mistaken identity." Just to let them know that I understand mistakes happen. So the one behind me, the officer behind me, put me in the back of the squad car and then closed the seatbelt thing. And so I just kept saying that, and eventually the officer came over and rolled up the window, and I think that the fire department's supposed to look at me. So he looks at me and he says, is she going to jump out at me? This is what he say. I've never heard anyone say that about me. However, everybody knew that something was wrong because I was saying, help me. But before I saw them, I wasn't saying anything, and I wasn't moving my body at all. And so then there's a question of why did they need backup, and also a question of what's happening here. Okay. So I keep saying I need to call my unit. I need to call my sergeants. I need to tell them what's happening. And so a sergeant comes into the car and says that he wants to make a video. And I'm saying that I don't want to make a video because I can see in the reflection that my hair is sticking up, and it wasn't sticking up before. And I say, unless I don't have a choice, whether or not, and he says something like that. So he makes this video, and I say, I'm a specialist in the United States Army. He says, stop. Don't say you're in the Army. And so basically I just commend the officers and make that video. And then later they asked me to make a video inside now my rights were never read to me. I never knew why they were, and then they arrested me. My rights were never read, and I was never told why I was pulled over. I didn't break any traffic laws or anything. And to make a U-turn, what my mom said, never make a U-turn in front of a police officer because they're always going to pull you over. However, I've seen somebody do that illegally in front of a police officer in Beverly Hills, and it was a white guy, and they didn't pull him over or anything. So, but mom says, don't ever make a U-turn from a police officer. This is what she said after. Now, the only reason why I'm mentioning this, now they did have me make a video again, inside of the department. Because when I made the video before, it looked like duress, which people would say that is a form of duress, in the sense that duress means you just did that because it's in your best interest to do so. Okay. A statements that are made by a person that feels that they have to make the decision, but they're not making it because that under their own consideration they would choose to make that decision. Okay. So they made another video with me when the mace was washed out of my eyes at the department. Okay. And I do want to say that one of the lady police officers did come and say, you can go on home. Okay. So they weren't charging me with anything. And I said, she said, just bring your ID too, so we can see your ID. And I said, I don't have my ID. I don't know where my ID is. It's lost, and that's why I'm here. But my ID was right in my military uniform, in my car, because they actually did something they call impound the car, or move the car to this place where I had to pay money to get it out. And I couldn't find my ID in my home. So I realized it was in my car. So I arrived without my ID and went into my car and found my ID, and that's how I was able to get my car out of the place. Okay. So I'm only using that as a foundation. I'm using that as a foundation to demonstrate first of all, before I don't know if this is crooked now. I should not get into that filmmaking. So I don't want to use the reason why I don't even know why I mentioned this. I mentioned this so many times already, but the reason why I'm mentioning that is because, first of all, I want to say that I got out of active duty the whole time that I was in active duty, and the time that at mom's house, I constantly had positive thinking playing. And once I transitioned from active duty, went into the Army Reserves, I stopped playing the positive thinking. And when you stop, it's like Les Brown says, when you stop playing negativity, positivity, negativity starts to fill the mind. Okay, if you stop working on that. So my mind was becoming more negative, which to me, that's the only way you could attract something like that. So I say that to say that I'm using this to show that that false arrest was the beginning of a tremendous amount of negativity in my life. Because what ended up happening, as I understand it, is so while it benefits an individual to have challenges, because every single challenge comes with the equivalent of equivalent benefit, it's still at the same time opened up into the reticular activating unfairness, possibilities of unfairness. Okay. Now, at the meantime, we're not focusing on that. We're moving on with our life, and then it was decided they would charge me for resisting arrest, which I didn't do. Okay, so they charged me for resisting arrest, and we paid a lawyer $5,000 totally. They never talked with me about the case, never showed up, and still charged me an additional $3,000. Never showed up. So I was appearing pro, which means appearing for myself. Okay. And the judge said, this isn't going to go to trial. So they brought it to trial because they wanted me to say no contest. But if I pursued it and I said not guilty, then that means it has to go to trial. They said it's not going to trial, which means they're going to dismiss the case, or the DA is going to drop the charges. But before they dismissed the case, the DA asked me, now the judge already says it's not going to trial, which means I can't be... they can't do a plea bargain because it's not going to go to trial. They're going to dismiss it. I didn't have a lawyer. So the DA, before the judge makes the final dismissal, the DA says, is it okay if you do me a favor and go to anger management? And I say, okay. So I do that. And the reason why I mentioned this, I don't know why I mentioned it, okay? Well, the reason why I mentioned it is because that opened up a window for negativity. But I became very positive at the time. Now, and what I'm starting to realize is there is always an ether in my life, and maybe, let's see, that happened in around 2013. Okay. Okay, and I started being aware of a negative energy around me in around 2017. That's when I was, yeah. Okay. Or was it? Yeah. Around 2017. Yeah, it was. Okay. Okay. So the reason why I'm making this is to just talk about all these things that have happened afterwards, okay? So I have a theory about all of these things. Now, this is what I've heard. My grandma, she raised 9 kids. Once she had raised her kids, sometime around there, she decided to become like, or near the end of raising her kids, she decided to become, or somewhere around there, a hustler. and somewhere she got caught by the FBI for growing like $1 million worth of weed before it became legal. Okay. Right now, my understanding is whatever energy this is, to me, it reminds me of some group like the FBI, CIA that's in my life now. Okay. And they're currently hazing and harassing me is what's happening. And they're currently hazing and harassing me. And as I look back, I realized that this energy was always there. It was there when I was deployed to Iraq. It was always in my life. I remember as a child realizing that something was, in a sense, something was like tampering with my vagina, doing something. And also, I would wake up with some kind of like fiber on my lips, some kind of thread or some kind of string or something. And I would tell my mom, and she'd go, "No more bubble baths," is what she would say. But it felt like my vagina was sucked closed. That's what it felt like. And what I identify it now is the same group that was in my life, and they use a sleep gas on everybody else in the family. Because I would wake up, I would go to the bathroom, and I think I already talked about this. I would go to the bathroom, but nobody else would wake up. No one would wake up. I would especially try to make a lot of noise going to the bathroom. My sister, my brother, my mom, nobody woke up. Okay, that was who really woke. My sister, my brother, my mom. So, and then I realized that as I grew, I had this weight issue. But as I see the picture of me as a child, I realized that it's the swollen weight look. And I realized that it was them making me fat then. I'm not kidding. It was them. This same group that's hazing and harassing me now. Now, this is my belief of this. And as I look back at that, and so as I look back at that, another thing, my hair. When I was growing up, my hair became very, very short. And I realized they were cutting my hair every night. This group was in my life then, okay? And my father went to Jamaica, and I realized he was hazing and harassed in Jamaica. They would tap the phone. I don't know if they arrested him for something he didn't do and said he did something that he didn't do, but for some reason, he was hazed and harassed when he went to Jamaica too, okay? So I realized certain elements, I realized that. And I think I already recorded this and said all this. So anyway, there were things that were happening in active duty military where I would say, wouldn't it be weird if they were just doing this just to me? You know, it's just strange. Like after the false arrest, I had this feeling that I was being watched. Now I feel like I'm being watched. As soon as the false arrest happened, it's something that happens. Now this is, like I said, this is my understanding of this whole thing. This group, it changes. All of a sudden, I used to call a number. I don't know if at the time it said this or not, but it says now, it always says, this call is being recorded and monitored okay? And it says that. I don't know if they all say that. But something else happened. Now, after the false arrest, I became aware of the hazing and harassing in around 2017. I reported it in around, I think, 2018 when I was going to Fort Meade. So let's see. So what began to happen? So this energy doesn't activate until the reticular activating system brings it into awareness. And all I remember was I was going to the gym every single day. And I would just get $1, loan $1 to drive down to the gym. And this particular day, I didn't get the $1. I walked to the gym. So it was about an hour walk, hour and a half walk. And on my way home, I noticed somebody walking in a very funny way, just walking towards me. And then the person stops and then walks across the street, and they're on the phone. And I felt this very odd. And that day, weirdness just started to come into my reticular activating system. Okay. So, and something else happened. I was talking to my brother, and he was saying, you need to look up and look around you at the gym, and something was kind of pulling my energy. And I started talking to my brother. He said, you should look around. Okay. And that's not the best advice, because I always believe, keep your mind on your own business. But I remember sitting in my car and looking at this guy. He seemed just out of place. He's sitting there looking right at me, and he just seemed strange. I can't explain it. He had a lunch bag in his hand. He seemed strange. He was just looking at me. I was sitting in the car looking, and he was just looking at me. So, and then that day I went to the store. I know I already talked about this. I went to the 99-cent store, and as I was walking into the store, this black guy looked like he turned around and looked right at me, and then he walked in front of me and went to the store. And then so I went inside, and the black guy had stopped and turned around and then watched me as I walked inside. And then there was this white guy that kind of did the same thing. Stopped and looked at me and just looking at me. So I get into the line, to go home. And I'm not paying any mind to these people. They're just like eyeballing. Okay, well, people eyeball, people looking at them. But the thing was, as soon as I checked out and got my thing, the same black guy was right there again, walking in front of me the same distance as he had as I was walking in. Okay, the same black guy. And the white guy too. Okay. So I said, okay, that's odd. So that just started me noticing these odd things. Okay. Now this is after the foster rescue, I noticed that the check stand, people stopped smiling at me. They all didn't talk to me anymore. They didn't notice me. If I was standing there, they left and went to the back. And then they'd say, oh, I didn't see you. Or, oh, you surprised me. This sort of thing started happening. And so I want to just point out my state of mind. So it was my state of mind. My state of mind was starting to take in these odd occurrences. And my state of mind taking in these odd occurrences. And so you might have just heard a siren at the top of this. Sirens go by this house now. Okay, this is this group asking these sirens to come by the house. You see, I was talking about police officers. They go by the house maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 times every day. Every single day you hear those sirens. Every single day. There's not a day they don't go by. They go by 5 to 10 to 15 times every single day. Okay? So that started. That didn't start. Let's see. Yeah, that started after the foster rest, after I started to become aware of this energy. Okay? Now this is how I see this energy. I'm gonna make this, it's 20, it's 18 minutes now. And we're going to 20. Okay, so this is this part of my complaining video, okay? So we already made like 3 or 4 videos. So now this is my understanding of this. So I remember, so this is basically it. I remember us going to the movies, me and my mom and my brother, because we live here. And these 2 black cars with black windows came in. And what I started to notice is there are cameras in this house, or people watching me. It's truly, really. And they have audio installed too, because and they want you to know this. They will tell you this. Because, how do you know? Because if I'm talking about the police, they'll do the siren.